Today's episode, we're going to talk to Elle and talk a little bit about Polaris. We're going to talk about Gitex and see where governance is on Cardano. Well, we're here, Elle. I haven't really hung out with you, years now.
No,
really.
we were in Vegas.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for a couple days, you know.
Yeah.
And you were off, you know, kind of whatever you were doing. You were hanging out with Lily. That's what you were doing. You're hanging out with Lily.
No. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not again. It just barely survived all the allegations.
I know, right?
No, I think, 2 days it was like that governance stuff, wasn't it, with IOHK, and they were like, "I'll come and facilitate." So we did that.
What ended up happening? I actually didn't.
I think it was kind of just a focus group with like, kind of the majority of like non-abstain voting power. So like all the top DReps. Sorry, I just think it was a few people missing. So we didn't get UDA, which was a bit painful, but. Excuse me, we got like the majority of like the top 40 in there, or top 50. I think it's like people are just frustrated with the constitution to a degree, and like they want things to be faster. As governors, so you start and you have the growing pains and everything's slow, and then like 8 months in, everybody's like, okay, now we need to fix this, and we need to get things much faster, because they want to get the money faster, right? But you didn't hear that from me. But I think it was good, to be honest. In all fairness to, I think, Ben and even Charles. I mean, Charles spent most of the time there, which I was surprised by, because all due respect, it's not the most excitable conversations, is it? No, let's talk about governance and DReps. But yeah, he spent a few days on it. And I thought it was good. I think anything where like you can get the majority of the DReps in a room and say, okay, well, we're actually going to listen to you and like try to have like a purposeful intention on creating a better user experience for the people who have that voting power. It's like you can't really say that that's a bad thing. So I thought it was good, but boring for most people. And then we got a party in, and we had fun, and we did a bit of Ray Evo. I thought Ray Evo was all right this year, to be honest with you. I know some people were saying it's like smaller, but it's like sometimes you have like a huge space, and then you're just like walking around for ages, and it's like, if we're just closer together, it just makes your life so much easier. And I think it's better for the exhibition, the people like with the booths. If you're not walking 5 minutes here and then you have to walk the entire hall, people just leave.
Yeah, and honestly, I really like the Rare Evo. We're going to be in Aria this year, I think. Yeah, so I'm excited for the Aria. But for the governance, I think they're just a little bit worn out, right? Everyone wants one thing another way. You have Americans, you have Europeans, right? One people think this way.
Don't listen to the Europeans.
I agree. Look, we got them speaking for America now, right? No, but I think that's really it's a little bit of a red herring, right? Where it's I think the only thing we really need is participation, right? Increase the participation. There's gonna be more happy people. There might be less happy people.
No, even if everybody's arguing.
Well, even then, we're gonna be able to see how big of an impact, right? As it scales up, you're gonna see some of the realities of, is this actually something that people want, or maybe DReps, they're not gonna be able to reach all the DReps, right? So maybe there's a completely different way you actually communicate with them.
You just gotta go to Japan. You go to Japan and you just get like 20 DReps from Japan. You got most of the power anyway.
But, well, actually, this kind of brings up the main purpose I wanted to talk about. I think you're working on something pretty big, actually.
Well, I don't know if I call it big yet. I need more money first.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's part of the problem,
I'm trying to
right?
compete with people who have like millions of dollars. It's like,
well, I actually haven't had a chance to like fully go through it. So maybe you want to like talk about maybe the main purpose of it, and then maybe we can talk about some of the features.
I'll tell you why I made it.
Yeah.
I think,
First off, what is it called?
Polaris Gov.app, if you want the full domain. I was like trying to get as many domains, and I like already had the name Polaris because it was like leading star, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. I like that. And then I went to go on to buy a domain, and I realized how many businesses were called Polaris, and I was like, fuck. And it was like one, and it was like Polaris.com, and it was like $25,000. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm getting that. But then we ended up with Polaris Gov.
I think that's a good one.
I thought it's okay. It's like we just add governance, and then app is like a pretty decent domain.
Yeah, and the fact that you can get like a .gov, not be governance.
Yeah. I thought it could be worse. But I kind of built it because I was just like, we have Adastat, right, which I think is really good for like visualization, but they don't have any actual tools on it to do anything. And then we have like Tempo, which I think the tools in regards to like what DReps can do is good enough. But when I'm like sat there and I'm going between two tabs, right, it just like pisses me off. But like bottom line, I'm like, go to Adastat so I can see the percentage breakdown, right? So I can see like, okay, is this close enough to 67 for the super majority. And then
and this is for like the proposals for like the treasurer.
This is for the on-chain proposals.
Absolutely.
So like anything that's, actually not on, so not like the GovTools API.
Not like, not like Catalyst, etc.
Yeah, because like, all that stuff is off-chain, right? And like, not to bash GovTools, because I couldn't think of anything more painful than having to make that API. So all due respect to them, but this is only for like active on-chain proposals. So like, I think we just said the SNEC one just expired now last week. Now we have like GovTools withdrawing 1.15 mil. And it's just like some other constitutional stuff, but I think we'll probably add the off-chain proposal. Sorry, just like if DReps want it, like why not?
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I didn't really care about the off-chain stuff, because if it doesn't go through on-chain, then you don't get your money anyway. It's like treasury withdrawal.
So what you said is, so far we have like the percentage breakdown, right?
Yeah.
I assume you can kind of look at current proposals and active, and
you can look at them all. So just like all 4 current ones you can obviously vote on. Everything else you can still see like the previous breakdown, like all the information and previous votes and what the DReps has thought about it. But you can't vote on something that's expired, right? So it's the same. I mean, you go to the DReps, you see all the DReps. You can see their voting power, the percentage, like from the non-abstain vote, all the nerdy stuff you need to see is like from a stat position. But I think for me, it was like the user interface for Tempo, I'm not a big fan of. I think they're a great team. I just wanted something for myself, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll just publicize it. If people want to use it, they can. If they really enjoy Tempo, then best of luck to Tempo, because I mean, they've been building for 3 years with like no advance. And like, I know a lot of people give them shit for the clawback, and I think they deserved it to some degree. I think it was a bit of a, they've kind of fantasized getting money from that. It's really difficult to get 2 years of clawback money. It's a risky ask. But at the same time, I do feel sorry for them, because you put so much effort in and like you build first, and you're like, okay, if I build first, then I have some sort of contention with like, okay, the community's going to see that I've built first, and they can respect that I've built first. But then you ask for money and they go, oh, but it's already out. Now you want us to pay you for stuff you've already done? Well, but if I said to them, I felt bad for them, because what they should have done was just said, oh, give us money for the next 3 years, and then just use that for the last 2.
Yeah, it's, funding is always difficult in blockchain, especially when you're trying to do open source technology.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of it is just trying to build and grow the ecosystem. But after that, you kind of have to commercialize, and that's always the hardest part.
And I mean, bro, like, think about trying to build like a revenue model for governance. Like, it's like, okay, we can take
taxes.
Well, yeah.
Taxes are great, right?
Yeah, but you're not going to get taxes for Cardano governance, right?
No,
decentralization and all that stuff.
Well, it kind of brings up another topic about DRep payment, and I know they're going to be starting to vote on Catalyst as well.
Yeah,
and there's thousands of proposals in Catalyst, so essentially we might even be looking at a way where we're scaling this voting to the point where it might be unsustainable.
How many do you think will retire? How many DReps retire like as soon as they have to vote for Catalyst proposals?
Well, we already saw a lot of that, right? At a certain point in time, and this is kind of one of my biggest things about participation, right? We need a lot of participation. That was kind of my first point, was we saw up to less than 50% active DReps, right?
It's less now, 42.
Yeah, and so at a certain point, you have to ask yourself why, right? And a lot of people like to give Charles or IOHK a lot of shit, but recently there was a debacle with the voucher issue, and a lot of people took that and kind of spun it on their head and didn't really see what could be.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason I say that is the voucher system was so important for them to just claim ADA.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it should be just as important for them to participate and use their ADA, right? So I think that's where we're kind of in this industry right now, is how do we get people to participate? And furthermore, so as it scales and becomes more difficult, how do we find more experts that are willing to either currently not get paid and do that, or find a way to get paid that's sustainable for all of us to be enjoying?
Well, but like even like just to back onto that a little bit, like even at the North Star, my bad. Even at the, what was it, North Star event, right? Forget the name now. I just called it
There's
Gitex.
so many blockchain events. It could have been North Star Blockchain Week.
Whatever, it could be anything. I just called it Gitex all week, and everybody's like, no, this is North Star. I'm like, okay.
Oh, I see you're saying Gitex. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just call it Gitex too,
I probably called it wrong, but 20 different wrong things. But even then, you know, you get people that come up to you and they say, okay, so what's Cardano? And you explain that it's a smart contract. And they're like, I've got some Bitcoin and I don't do anything with it. And I'm like, yeah, well, you can't do anything with it because it's not, you know, a smart contract asset. You know, it's just, you basically, well, you can do stuff with it. I'm not going to negate from like the NFTs that they have and
you mean the bloat on their their chain.
Yeah, but well, I mean, they're quite, a lot of the like devs on Bitcoin are pretty smart, and they've been able to like make a lot of exciting stuff, which is really impressive with like without the capabilities of like smart contracts. But when you have smart contracts with like Ethereum and Solana and Cardano as well, obviously you can do much more, right? But like when they come up to you and they say, okay, well, what can I do with it, right? It just shows you how many people don't know that they can do anything with crypto. They just think that it's like, I'm holding an asset and it depreciates or appreciates, right? So we have like a lot of the large stakeholders with Cardano now, like a lot of them being Japanese from the voucher sale, right? They're like 56 years old. They have no idea that they can even do anything with it. They just holded it and
they claimed it, and that's about it now.
And
right?
maybe they staked it, maybe.
Well, like I bring my neighbor up often because I'm waiting for this to be an indicator for me, right? So if my neighbor starts to participate via the actual normal airwaves, you know that
it's bullish.
You know that the job is being done, right?
Yeah.
It's reaching them. And I also always think about like, you know, every time in America, every 4 years you go vote, they're like, you start getting articles of mail that says vote for Prop 215, this and that. And then you have to go and look, what's Prop 215? Should I vote for this? Should I not vote for this? Right? But you end up, you know, when it comes to your desk, you know, you're like, all right, let me fill this out, let me do this. Or you go in and vote and do this. And you take the time and effort and participate, right? It's only every 4 years. But, you know, it also brings up the subject about, you know, governance fatigue, which I think everyone's kind of going through right now. I think,
and there's a lot going on as well. And it's like, you know, when you have like legacy governance, right? Like a lot of people get excited by it and they watch it all the time. But I think it's more so because like it's unbelievable, especially right now. Like, you know, when you have like Israel situation and Palestine and Ukraine and Russia and stuff, it's like you can't keep your eyes off it from the fact that it's like polarizing. But when you're sad and you're like doing Cardano governance and you're arguing over like, is this guy gonna get $1 million to make an app? It's like, bro, most people, they're not gonna be sat there on the edge of their seat. Are they like, oh, I need to vote on this, I need to vote on this? So then you just get tired. With the DReps are lazy bastards, though, I'll be honest.
No,
they're lazy.
It's gonna get worse, man, because they're gonna have to not be
like
lazy.
They're like 30 proposals, and they're like, I've got to read a proposal and then click one button. It's
yeah,
like,
I think it'll get really. The problem will become greater before it's solved, right?
I don't think they should get paid though. I'm like kind of sick of them.
Well, it depends on how you get paid, right? So I brought this up a while ago, where when you're a fiduciary, which a lot of times DReps are in some light, you have to act to your stakeholders, and if you are not doing so, you are actually not acting.
Do you think a lot of them are?
What's that?
I don't think a lot of them are.
Well, let me go a little further, right? So, in this situation, in fiduciaries, they normally have to represent the individual and in between a third party, right?
Yeah.
So, like, let's say you're an insurance agent, right? Not a broker. An agent would be representing let's say farmers insurance. So they have to do what's best for farmers, right? Not necessarily for the actual insured. Now, if you're a broker, you do what's best for your client because the more money you save them, the more you can sell. Now, similarly with DReps, you have the treasury and you have your stakeholder, the actual delegate, right? Now, where this money comes may actually align the DRep in one way or the other, right? If it's coming for the treasury, you would likely do what's best for the treasury, right? And those are things like when I mentioned a while ago with this in the car, it was transactions, right? Everyone says that they want more transactions on Cardano, which the blockchain itself does, that stakeholder does. But let's say you're, someone using a DEX, the more transactions you spend, the more money it is. So you actually are a little bit unaligned there, right? And the DRep would be in the middle, right? So how do we make sure that the actual payment and influence and incentive comes from the proper person, right? Or the proper entity?
The question anyway, like even if you delegate to them, as the DRep, should they be looking out for the treasury more than they should be looking out for their own delegates?
Exactly. And so if the money was coming from the treasury, they may think that. Right?
Yeah.
They may think that the treasury is more important. We want more transactions, which ultimately may be against the delegate or maybe a retail user, right? And so
They're like stuck between a bank or an council.
yeah, and so I think that actually needs to be solved in a more creative way. Like, you know, no one likes tax, but we're already getting taxed right now on every transaction, right? Some of that goes to the treasury
It's so small,
itself.
you don't really give a shit.
Right, but maybe there's an additional fund, and that's where the payment comes from. And there's set rules that say this is how you're supposed to act, and if you're acting against that, the delegates can then move or say maybe we increase a lockup period. We don't usually like lockup periods with stuff like that, but it would help DReps as well, so we can ensure. You know, let's say it's for a month lockup. Well, I know for a month I'm going to have this amount of ADA rewards come back to me, right?
What about like with Catalyst as well? How much longer do you think that goes? Because what my thought process was, right, was when the Treasury come through, I was like, okay, so Catalyst ends now, right? And then they're like, okay, we have 4 more funds. I'm like, but I thought we all go to the Treasury now. And then so I'm like, okay, does that end? And then do we, because we use a lot of the Cardano tax to pay for that, for most of the funds, right? So I'm like, okay, well, why don't we just stop doing that and just put more money into the Treasury, and then they have to ask the Treasury. But then everybody's like, well, no, because it's so much harder to ask the Treasury for money. It's like, okay, well, how much do you actually have a good idea? And then how easy do you think it is to get money from Catalyst?
Yeah, I think where it comes with is a competition will happen, right? So I think how you do grant processes, there's multiple versions of that. So actually, I actually really appreciate how America does it. They have the phase 1, phase 2 version. So first, let's say you pass it and get into phase 1, they'll give you up to, I think, $250,000. It might be a little bit more than that. And then let's say that they can confirm viability after that. They'll help you commercialize it and give you up to $2 million, right? And at that point, the government can invest into it, or other people can invest into it and expand it past that, right? So instead of saying, okay, here's $2 million ADA for your partnership, right? First, prove to us that the system works. Right, and then let's go to the next step.
But that's like what milestones are supposed to be, no?
Not necessarily. Milestones are really just for payouts, right? They've already been agreed that they're going to get this regardless of commercialization, right? Unless it's built within their milestones that they said that we're going to reach X metric, right? And that's you shouldn't leave that to be determined by the grantee. It should be determined by the host entity. It says, okay. We want a solution. Well, in order that we think it's viable, it has to reach these metrics, right? Not what you say, but what we say. And at that point, we'll invest more, right? Or maybe the community can vote again to unlock the rest.
But that's why I think, like, why don't we have a treasury management team? I think the reason we don't is because nobody wants to pay anybody to be the treasury management team. But like in reality, I think we should, because you know, if we
hey man, we're decentralized. People wanting centralized systems.
Yeah, but
it's a balance.
We can say, okay, we have a treasury management team that looks after things, and we can also have votes at the same time, right? Because I look at products and I go, we gave these guys $500K. They came back for money. You said no, but they're doing well, and people like them, and they're scaling, and it's okay. Why don't we have a treasury management team that says, we think we should probably continue to invest in these guys because they already took the money, did pretty well with it, didn't blow it on a load of shit, continue to perpetuate success, and look like they have a scaling position here. We go, okay, and then everybody votes them down in the next Catalyst, or they don't ask for Catalyst money again. If we have a treasury management, they push that project. They say, this is making money. This is all the good things that is happening for Cardano because this business is successful. Then the DReps can vote, okay, we think that the treasury management team's right, and we should give more money.
You see how, I think it's like something millennial, what's the guy's name?
Something millennial?
Yeah, he's talking about the $50 million liquidity proposal.
Oh, Elder Millennial.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember his fucking real name.
Well, it's like, he's putting in a lot of effort, putting in
for stable coins.
Right, and then you'll have certain individuals. You're good. You'll have certain individuals say you're biased, right? And I think that'll probably be a very similar situation where you put a well-qualified individual in that situation.
But
like,
just show the stats, though. Show it like. Yeah. I mean, there's only so much you can negate from going, oh, those are the numbers and they're the numbers. Like, you can fake certain things.
What they flip for is like, well, you should just let the community vote, right? So we need to have a real communication about it and conversation, and like not just in a small room with a few DReps. Like, it should be something that is well organized. I always really liked how our forefathers of America did it. They locked them in a room and said, "Don't come out until you're
figure
done."
it out.
Yeah, and like, let's go lock everyone up and let's go throw away the key until they come out.
Thing is, if you did that with Cardano, it's like half the people would be dead and the other half the room would be eating those fucking people.
At least someone's happy.
Yeah. It's like, who's gonna survive? Like, one guy walks out after 14 weeks in a room. It's like, fuck, that's all we got left now. But,
So tell me more about the Gitex conference. So that's where we're here today, or this week
well,
at least.
yeah.
Right now we're at a podcast studio, but it's been quite a journey, honestly.
I thought it was incredible, to be honest, mate. I think, I went to mostly just all crypto. Like, there's every single time is like blockchain centric. I'm trying to think of one I went to. NFT NYC, NFT Paris. Like, you end up just going. I went to Paris Blockchain Week. I think it's the only other one that I've been to that was a little bit bigger, and it wasn't just blockchain, even though it was in the name. But they had some fintechs. But this one is like, obviously you have the blockchain businesses, but it's not like really the main focus. And I think that's much better for us. I think we spend a lot of time going to events where it's just like, okay, everybody here knows everything about blockchain. Everybody here is in either Cardano, or Solana, or Bitcoin, or ETH. Like, they already have one of the top 10 layer ones, even Tron, maybe, probably not, but maybe, right? And you're just selling to everybody that you already know. Whereas, like, at least here now, it's like, okay, I know nothing about blockchain. Let me introduce you. Let me tell you about Cardano. Let me tell you, and I'll tell them about Bitcoin and Solana and Ethereum, because like, there's no benefit to just acting like we're the only people in the world, and Cardano's the only chain in the world. It's just like, you want to be honest with people, I think. Like, of course, I want them to be on Cardano. Of course, I want them to take a look into Cardano. But if you lie to everybody, they're just not going to do that. But I think that's what I mean. Like, it's like a very clear indicator of benefits when there's so many people coming up to you that know nothing about it, rather than like, oh, hey, Al, you're the guy that I've spoke to for the last 16 weeks, and nice to see you in this event again. It's like you're seeing your pals, but your pals already lost all their money. So what's the point?
They've already put it all on Aster at 1,000 X leverage.
Well, I mean, maybe some of them did well, though. I mean, some of the guys did well on Aster, which I'm happy for. And, maybe they'll bring some of it back to Cardano. Maybe they won't. That's fine.
Well, no, honestly, I've had a great time here too. And it's one of the things I've really enjoyed too is like being able to explain the different generations for people. Right, very very commonly people were coming up. Well, what about Cardano? Right. Well, let me kind of start with blockchain technology. Let's bring it back even to like Bitcoin, right? And I always like the conversation about Bitcoin's a discovery, right? And what that actually means is before we had Bitcoin, records were placed on things like tablets, paper, on databases that could be changed by a human, right? So when you went to go get a loan, right, you had to trust that person that they were being a good actor. What happened if they went on the tablet and added an extra zero? Well, if you didn't pay up, you're going to jail, right? And so this is the first time in human history that we're able to have a record of account that everyone can agree on. The person that I owe money to isn't in control, and that we all have consensus on this, right?
Yeah.
It's the first time in human history that happened, right? And then you get to the layer, generation 2 and 3, and 2 is where smart contracts come in. That's where Ethereum came in. But, me and you have been talking about governance this entire time, right? And that's kind of where layer 3 comes in, or generation 3. And then now we're having a conversation about, privacy.
4, yeah.
And well, are the different generations really that different? I always bring up with what if Bitcoin adds all those? There's now a 4th gen blockchain.
Yeah.
So I've had a really good opportunity with that, and I think that's kind of what's needed for bringing in new users for blockchain, right? And Cardano specifically. The summit is when you know about the Cardano itself and you want to get to know it more, right? Rather than, hey, I'm a blockchain, or I'm a healthcare company. I'm at Gitex and we do a little bit of tech, and I see this Cardano booth over here. I don't even know much about blockchain. Well, why don't I stop over here and get a little intro, right? And this gives you the opportunity to introduce them to blockchain.
Well, how many people came up to us about real world assets?
Quite a few, actually.
Everybody's like jumping up and down. RWAs, RWAs. Can Cardano help me with my business for RWAs, right? It's like, if you're at the Cardano summit, it's great. I'm not gonna hate on the event, but it's more like a coming together of people that already know each other and already have businesses together, and maybe you haven't seen a few friends from Cardano in a while, and you want to do that, and that's great. It's kind of like a party or social gathering. But if you want to get anything done, and you actually want to meet people outside of that scope that want to get introduced, or we can actually look into other sectors to propagate success from blockchain, you don't stay at the Cardano Summit. You don't stay at the events that are just like always blockchain.
Well,
blockchain.
so, you know, just a comparison, the attendees, Gitex is almost 100,000 plus attendees.
Yeah, I couldn't see the floor half the time. There's everybody in the way.
Some of the photos I have, we were literally shoulder to shoulder
crazy.
walking through different halls, and so.
I thought we were in India at one point.
Well, I have a whole stack of cards and leads, so I think it's this is kind of where we're at in the ecosystem and in blockchain in general. It's like, let's kind of get out of our shell a little bit. Let's not focus maybe all on transactions or all on DReps. Let's become a little bit more practical.
All the business cards. I thought I had 2 fucking wallets in my pocket the other day. I got so many. You know
I
thought I robbed somebody's wallet again.
Well, hopefully they don't drop the ball, man.
Well, yeah, but I think there's nothing wrong with having like a community get together, but then you say, okay, well, but we need to do everything else as well, and I think that's like one thing we really haven't done enough of as who's to blame for that, I don't know, but it's a waste of time to blame people. Let's just do it more now, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason why we can't say, okay, well, let's look forward, let's go to the next one and the next one and the next one. It's never too late to try and connect to more users and do more stuff like this. Just whether we've got to kick them to the ass a little bit, really, don't we? And just say, okay, look how great this has been. And if we can get, I was speaking to that guy from CoinW, and they have like top 10 in perps and like top 30, I think. And it's like, the guy's like, we don't have Cardano. I'm like, okay, but Cardano's on Binance and it's on Coinbase, but it's not on there. Well, let's just add it. Like, why, why would we not? And like, I can't imagine how many people you spoke to about RWAs. And it's like, if we can convert like 5 out of the 500 that you end up speaking to, you can't complain about that.
Well, I think that's kind of like where I kind of see some of the changes coming, right? Where I don't think you should develop a blockchain app and just place it on one blockchain, right? I think we're going to start seeing, similar to like a restaurant where you don't actually have, a actual one payment. You don't have just only accept Discover card. You take debit, cash, credit. You take American Express, you take MasterCard, Discover.
I don't even think like it needs to be that difficult to explain, because like I see it less as payment process and then more as like currency exchange, right? Because you don't go to.
Well, I'm more talking about like settlement, right? All the above, starting with like the actual example, but after that, right? Let's say I build Aster, for example, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can do perps on, I can do Cardano perps, I can do BNB perps, right? It may be on a specific blockchain, and they're going to have their own blockchain, but they're utilizing all blockchains to provide a service for their actual consumer. And until actual applications start thinking like that and using Cardano as a mainstay, using Ethereum as a mainstay, and they're all incorporated, then we'll start seeing more and more adoption.
Like, why wouldn't you facilitate? Like, if you can open a business, I know in a lot of countries you can't do this, right? But if you could open a business and you're in America and you say, okay, well, we'll take yen and USD and GBP, and well, you would, because you're not going to say, oh no, I'm not going to take money.
Have you used the Stripe stuff? Oh
well, yeah,
you can send me anything. I love using Alibaba Pay. Because they can use anything they want.
But
it goes right into
cash, though, like that. I mean, online is great, right? But like, let's say you can walk into an American restaurant with whatever the conversion rate is in like GBP, and you just give it to them. It's like, you're not gonna not allow that if you can, because it's money.
Well, if someone comes to your store and they're gonna spell like it's $1,000 sale, like, oh, I have ADA. You're gonna say no. You're gonna lose a sale.
Yeah, but and most of the time they will, because they don't. Okay, how do we facilitate that? We don't know. We don't know. Blah, whatever reason is, right. But if you do know and it's easy, then why would you say no? If I got something I can sell in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, USDT, and then fiat as well, I'm not gonna say, oh no.
Yeah.
Don't, like, if the money's worth the money, then I'll take whatever way you want to fucking pay.
Yeah, and maybe you add an extra fee, but regardless, I think that's where our industry will start going. I also I had a really interesting conversation today about stable coins. People keep asking me about stable coins, right? And, I've started to think a little bit more and more about them. And there's 2 things I think will come. One, I think there's going to be platform-specific stable coins coming next, right? Like, you go to Goldman Sachs, and all of a sudden you want to go trade with stable coins, you use GUSD or something like that, right? But when you go ahead and remove that, it'll go straight to regular fiat into your bank account. You're done with the stable coin, and now you want to go to Fidelity, you get FUSD or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not like, there's no really benefit to liquidity, but in the regards of like fees, they're not going to let somebody else have the fees.
Absolutely, right?
Like Goldman Sachs are not idiots.
Well, also it benefits with regulation, but I think what will be the funniest thing is I think stablecoins are more of a nothing burger than I realized. And I say that because if you look at a lot of the standards like ISO 2022, theoretically you should be able to send fiat through any blockchain like Cardano to another fiat account using Cardano as the rail.
Yeah.
Right. So you wouldn't need a stable coin. You'd literally be sending fiat to fiat basically. Right. So the stable coin may be a mute and
I think it's just a means to end for now, wouldn't it? Like,
I believe so. I think it's
end.
more of the marketing term, like RWAs are hot, stable coins or CBDCs are hot. You know, it's just
like
a new cycle, a new meta.
It's like more liquidity that now, because like when you're day trading every single day and you're like, okay, well, I want to go back to a stable. You don't pick the one that has like $2.
Well, I think they're still going to grow for exponential amount of time, but I think they'll start to dwindle in use.
I think they'll just become more like localized.
Yeah.
But then you still need I think they become more localized, but then they retain like the same liquidity to some degree. So like, because if you want a stable coin that's like successful, you need billions of dollars in liquidity. Because I'm not gonna,
unless they're doing platform specific ones, because you just have to meet the demand of your users.
Yeah, but but if you got a lot of users and then like, okay, well, I want to sell 50,000,
and then that means they have to deposit. You make them deposit.
Yeah,
right?
But then what if there's like an 18% like slippage position? I'm losing fucking.
You wouldn't be able. There wouldn't be any slippage because for every dollar you put in, there's a dollar out.
Okay, I mean you could do it in that scenario, but like currently you can't.
That's why I think it'll catch on.
It depends when and really.
I think it's catching on more often than you think. I think like for example, Astra has their own stablecoin built into their system, right?
Yeah.
And they provide more benefits to that than using other ones.
I don't know, to be honest. I can't say I've used the Astra stablecoin. I'm just like.
Well, I haven't used it itself, but just that alone is a platform-specific stablecoin. It's one of the newest apps coming out, and they chose to do that way.
Yeah.
Right? Why don't they just use USDC as their main stablecoin, right?
You have to question that, especially when like CZ is the guy fucking running it. Like,
well, it's because the opportunity is there,
yeah.
right? So like, why would they give the opportunity to USDC instead of having it in their own ecosystem? And it's better for their actual end user.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's where that market will go, and it'll gain a little bit of adoption, but dwindle once they start to realize that banks don't need them. All right, El. So we've had a little bit of a conversation, talked about Gitex, talked a little bit about Polaris App. If anyone wants to maybe look a little bit on what you're doing or keep up to date with Polaris, where can they find it?
Just go to the domain, polarisgov.app, and then if you want to keep up with updates on Twitter, polarisgov_app, and if you want to be engagement farmed, at the unpopular L. I'm gonna engagement farm you, every 2 days at least.
No YouTube, no TikTok.
No, I feel sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I should do YouTube videos, man. And then I'm like, I sit in front of a camera.
This is your start, bro.
I mean, I don't know. I let Big Pay do it. I'm like, Big Pay, you're pretty good at it. Let him do it. We watch Big Pay or Crypto Crow and just let them. I like Dan's all right. I always fuck up his last name. With all due respect, Gambadalo. We'll throw that out there and hope don't offend anyone. But yeah, I think I watch them and I'm like, okay, let him do it. And whenever I get in front of a camera, I'm like, nah, just we'll stick to tweeting. Yeah. What was it? It's posted now because it's X.
We're experts now.
No.
Yeah.
Wouldn't go that far.
Well, it's been a pleasure, brother. We're probably going to be hanging out for the rest of the week. So just want to thank Discover Cardano. It's been a pleasure, El, and we'll talk to you soon. Hello, everyone. You're watching Discover Cardano. I'm John. That's El, and Dave's out of here.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Hold on.
No, I enjoyed that, actually.
Okay.